This is Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready. We're about to live in your head rent-free.
Hello, Otterites. This is episode 216. I am Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis.
And I am Marcus.
And I'm Cajun.
Hey, there he is.
That's right.
Awesome. Good to have you on with us, Cajun, through the miracle of 21st century technology.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. So, gentlemen, code of honor.
Yoo-hoo!
Yes,
So,
that's right. Bring it
back,
on.
Welcome back to Studio M. I'm very, very pleased to have you here.
That's right. On the 30th floor of the Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes.
Behind
yeah.
the waterfall, just up
down
in
the hall
Ellis's
from
office.
Ellis.
Yep, just down the hall from Ellis. Be careful after lunch, walking around after Takagi. He likes
That's the
kimchi.
kimchi. That's it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
yeah,
He likes to have kimchi for lunch.
And I'm in the trial run of Alaska in the middle of Kentucky on the ranch.
Well, yeah, that's right, because, it's still colder than a well digger's ass out there.
Yeah.
2 degrees.
Brass monkey
Yeah, we
out
could
there,
go on and on, yeah.
out there at the ranch. But we
Has
do-
it hit double digits in the temperature? Oh, yeah, 13 degrees.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm impressed.
The Apple Watch says 14 degrees.
Oh, really? My Apple Watch says 13. Interesting.
And pretty
Yes.
soon, neither of them will check your blood oxygen level.
My model is older than that. My
Oh,
last year's model, but
Yeah.
you have a 9, right? Or
No,
you
I have an SE.
You have an SE. Okay, yeah.
An SE, so I didn't go for all those sensors. I know I'm about to die, so it doesn't really matter.
Black and bitter like your soul, right?
You want it to be a surprise.
I've
Like
been
your
s-
quote.
I've been staring into the abyss for some time now.
Yeah, you're going to give us that quote that's been kept secret all this time, yeah.
So I have a little bit of a preamble to the quote. I'm going to take
God, you're turning into me.
I know. I'm going to take a page out of Francis's book here. So I was going to pile on the French philosophers. We're fresh off of a Voltaire.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to do Camus.
Ooh, we've
And
never
so
done
I had
Camus.
I had this great, tyranny quote from Camus, and follow on. But
Oh, we're going to see one?
Yeah, that's Shamu, actually, yes.
Oh, my apologies.
Very good, sir.
thank you, Cajun. Very well done. I like that.
The vernacular.
But instead, I decided to, because we've been kind of hitting the tyranny thing kind of hard.
We have.
There's some
yes.
truth to that. It's a reoccurring theme for
Yeah,
us. I
I mean,
understand. We don't
yeah,
want
you-
we want to be unpredictable.
You have two very solid libertarians and a kind of a middle of the road libertarian outnumbering you guys. So
Mhm.
I don't want to, flog that equine too much.
Expired.
So it's not expired, but
Working that way, yeah.
it's very
We're
Rodney,
hoping.
very Rodney Dangerfield. This stake still got marks where the jockey was hitting it, kind of thing. So,
Okay.
but instead, I decided that what has been very meaningful for me over the last few weeks, especially with Robert's recent triumph, of
Mhm.
becoming a published author,
Here.
that I would do a friendship type quote.
Okay.
Ah, excellent.
It's good. It's another one of our good
Oh,
things.
that
Happy
is so
quote.
apropos because I used that theme in the inscription
Thank you,
when I
sir.
signed your book.
Thank you, sir. So this is a C.S. Lewis.
Oh,
Which should be, again, right up our alleyway.
I don't
here.
know that we've ever quoted Lewis.
I don't think we have.
Yeah.
Chesterton we've done.
Oh, many
but
times,
Lewis
yes.
not. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's
There's
similarities there.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Lewis is far more serious than Chesterton
Right.
Yes.
and not Catholic.
So this is from Lewis's work, The Four Loves.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art. It has no survival value. Rather, it is one of those things which give value to survival.
Ooh, this is great.
So I've hit the guys cold with this. So I'm going to let them give them a second to percolate.
Well, my gut instinct was a total disagreement until you got to the last part.
Yeah.
And even so, I would say that because it's what gives survival value, it absolutely is necessary.
It's like Fulton Sheen would say, life is worth living. It's only such when you have things like that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, but even a life devoid of friendship and that is
Friendship,
one of
philosophy,
yeah.
art, all of the above. I
yeah,
suppose.
even if it is filled with
I believe that's called
despair.
atheist. That or vegan.
Well, there's probably a lot of overlap there.
Yeah.
But even if you have a life that is filled with despair, misery, and suffering,
Been there.
there, yes,
Indeed.
there can be great value in it, but
Mm-hmm.
it comes from understanding the sacrificial aspect,
which
of-
modern society tends to reject.
right,
Modern Western society tends to reject.
right, because especially for Francis and I, obviously, we are very attuned to that aspect of
Yeah, it's
interpersonal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Because obviously there is great value in that as part of the faith. Our faith means nothing if there was not a true sacrifice.
Right, and it's one of those things that it's not. And this is a Catholic versus Protestant divide that's very common. Protestantism is very much concerned about the individual's salvation. Nothing wrong with that, mind you.
No, because that is important.
It is important, but they stop there often. Catholicism is concerned really more with everyone's salvation, and that always includes the individual as along with it.
That's certainly why it's called universal.
That's great. I mean, the word
That's-
Catholic means universal.
Yes.
We desire the salvation of every soul, not just our own.
That's
So you like the nosy neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the nosy neighbor. That's
It's a
correct.
whole church of
I-
Karens.
well, I think he said like a nosy, or not like a neighbor, but
Well, I mean,
like a nosy neighbor. Yeah.
well, we don't impose anything. I mean, that's very
Well,
clear.
not anymore.
No, it's very clear.
Catholics don't
Christ
impose anything.
proposes, does
Catholics
not
don't
impose.
impose anything.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
not anymore.
no, actually, it
We
does.
have a great history of
That's
it.
right.
I was sitting.
And some of that
flicking
is
chickens with-
undeserved too.
Well,
So-
yes, some of it is, but some of it is very deserved.
Well, in practice,
No one
but not in
expects the
philosophy.
Spanish
Yes.
Inquisition.
Oh no.
yeah.
Yeah.
In practice, yes, it is very deserved, but that is the
But philosophically speaking,
institutional church
that
as
is correct.
opposed to the
universal church.
universal church.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is the divine church
Well, and
versus
And
the
sometimes
human
there
church.
is a far wider divide between those two than it should be.
Yes.
I'd like to think we're getting closer to melding them two back together again. There are fits and starts and moments of greatness and moments of awfulness in the church's history because it is administered by humans. But nevertheless, the intention, it's always been there. It's just often forgotten that we desire everybody's salvation.
Well, and that's a great point. I'm glad you went back to that line.
Yep.
Because Pope Francis has been in the news once again
Yes.
because he has made a statement that, on its very face, I honestly do not understand why anyone. I understand how they do. I do not understand why anyone would take an affront at this statement, because he said that he hopes. It is his personal hope. It's not required that anybody believe this. He did preface this.
That's correct. Yeah, it's not an ex-cathedra statement.
But he hopes that hell is empty. Now, that really pissed off a lot of people
Yeah,
because,
but it shouldn't have.
but it shouldn't have, because
Right.
that should
That's-
be our hope.
That
Yeah, that's what the church is for.
He's being a moral leader when he says that.
Yes.
And shame on us if we if we take umbrage at that.
And that's part of that whole point of friendship.
That's right.
Friendship, to get back to Martin's quote,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
at its heart, it's not just he's a fun guy to hang around. Friendship is the very core of what God is about. God is love. You
Right.
cannot separate friendship, true friendship, not just, he's an acquaintance that,
You're talking about the Greek word philios.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that particular brotherly love. Of course, it's not meant to be sex. It's
Right.
all of that. It's that depth
Greeks
of
were into it.
Different
No.
kind of brotherly
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
We're talking about that. I am willing to do everything for your benefit. It's similar to a spousal love, but it's broader than that.
Well, it's
not quite that
it's an
high, but it's very close.
well, it's an aspect of the highest form of love, which is caritas.
Yeah, agape.
is-
Yes,
Which is wanting the very best for the other person,
that's correct.
regardless.
Yes.
And that's
any other
always
consideration.
contained. It's that the caritas is contained within those three forms of love.
Yes.
It's supposed to be anyway.
Yes.
And just to recap, the three forms of love. The lowest form is eros, which is that physical,
Carnal.
biological love. It's not lust, because that's a usury type thing. It's a true love. Philios is the brotherly love, the sibling love, the parental love, that the tight friendship between
The essence of snakes and
the
otters.
essence of snakes and otters. Exactly what I'm saying. That's philios. Agape is self-sacrificial love. That nothing is more important than the good of the other, to the point where self-sacrifice could be asked of and given freely. That's the ultimate expression of love found on the cross. Not to go too theological, but that's how
No,
it's,
it's okay. Go theological.
that's its
But-
intention.
But I would like for Robert to hit our button because you've used a lot of awesome words there.
I did.
Oh yes.
Word boner.
Okay, well, I'll take it. That's
Yeah,
fine.
you hit
I think
3 and
so.
4
Yes,
you
I
hit
was
3
so
and 4
involved in
syllables.
listening to him
I know.
expound. I
when,
didn't
when he
even think
starts when he starts laying Philios and
about it. Agape.
agape on
Eros,
us.
Philios, and agape. Yeah.
when
those
you
are
start
the
laying
three
that on us, that's a word boner for sure.
Well, I mean, the word, they're all used by the word love in English, which does us no favors.
Yes, English is a very
It's-
poor language
it's
for
very,
this.
It's not specific,
Yeah.
and because as you discovered, as I said, those are very distinct. They're related, they're similar,
Yes.
but they're not.
And-
they have their differences are larger than their similarities.
Yes,
Mhm.
and what's interesting to me about those is that the second and third levels,
Yeah.
they are so close in their truest forms.
They are.
But the first and second, I wouldn't say that they're totally unrelated,
Oh no, not at all.
but there is a distinct divide.
There is. There's a physicality. There's a biological level to that first one
Yes,
that the others transcend.
yes.
That's that.
Yes,
I mean,
that's a good way of putting it. They
because
definitely transcend.
that Eros is not bad. I mean, it's what propagates the species, for goodness sakes.
No, it's what makes
We pervert it too often with our pornography culture and our love of lust. As you can see, it's everywhere in this modern society. It's taking that physical, psychological compulsion we have to be visual, for men especially, and taking it down this particular ways. I mean, it's usury. It's learning how to use for financial gain or for other things like that. We're sex obsessed for
it is
all
the
the wrong reasons.
ultimate expression of the lack of respect
That's correct.
for
yeah.
the inherent dignity of the human
That's right.
person.
Yeah, their dignity has
Word
nothing.
boner.
And I know you like a word boner for that particular phrase.
Dignity has nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
Much less sanctity, and that's a whole nother level.
Right.
Mhm.
But each level can be perverted in its own
Oh,
way.
absolutely.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Uh,
But to me, going back to the friendship part of things,
Yes.
I think when you have friendship, it really is essential to living. I mean, yes, you can live without it,
but why would you want to?
but why would you want to?
Yeah. Why would you want to?
Yeah, and now that you mentioned it, there's a for me friendship is there's a tie to the same aspects of the human character as leadership. Leadership is a transfer of belief.
Yes.
Friendship is too.
Yes.
You know, you believe in your friends. You believe in their abilities. You believe and hope for their achievements.
It's an eternally optimistic.
Yeah, it is.
endeavor.
And of course you believe that they'll be there for you
Sure.
when it is needed. And therefore, I think Lewis is I think, as you are hinting, is incorrect.
To a
It-
degree, yeah.
It is necessary for your survival. You need someone to believe in you.
I suppose it depends on what he means by survival. That's kind of what we're talking about here. If
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
talking about-
I can see where you.
and
could
if he's
explore
speaking at its
that.
most basic level, being allowed to quote unquote live. But then
Yeah.
again, is life always worth living under all circumstances?
Yeah, I mean-
that's kind of what we're talking about here.
You know, to
Because-
have air pushed into you by a machine, no, friendship's not necessary for
Well,
that.
and that technically
You would
is
be
survival.
surprised.
It's spoken from absolute truth here over here. He's
Well, there, Imperator, you bring
have
up
a
very good
perspective
point
we
there.
wanna
yes.
hear.
I mean,
You've been there.
I have a good perspective on this since I spent 8.5 years plus dying, and being revived and dying and being revived.
His wife is such
and
a
even the process of
yeah.
being
masochist or
reborn
sadist for it.
itself was its own form of death.
It is
Yeah.
because when you're brought back, you're always in worse shape than you were when you died.
Yeah, because
Well, yes, there's damage there.
There's more damage.
right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, even though I wasn't, even though emotional,
Yeah, okay,
That's
yeah.
okay.
even though I wasn't able to hear your prayers and what you guys were saying and
Yeah.
crying for me,
Many
Uh,
times. Many
my
times.
wife was.
Well, yeah.
Well, I tell you, when I got off the phone with you guys, when you were on your way up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
my
was-
my wife will tell you, I broke down in tears.
Yeah. I mean, and when you passed on the word to us, yeah, it was a very. I
It
mean,
still brings tears in
well,
my eyes thinking about that.
It reminds me of that
Thank you.
moment in Ten Commandments when Moses hears about the Passover coming. He goes, "Oh God, my God," and he breaks down
Yeah.
and he realizes what's going on. It's like that moment of clarity and truth is that this is effing real, folks.
Yeah.
And that's both scary and uplifting at the same time.
Yeah. And we've had friends pass away suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most
Oh,
of-
sure, absolutely.
and in our case,
COVID in many respects. I mean, I had a gentleman that good friend of mine. He pitched in my little league team. He's a year ahead of me,
Mhm.
and big guy, strong guy, very
Yeah.
big, much of an athlete. 1 year ahead of me. Boom, dead from COVID.
Yeah.
Right in the heart of everything. I
Mhm.
did not go to. I was going to go back to his funeral because I knew him well. But it didn't work out. It's I still kind of regret that because I could have,
Mm-hmm.
if I could have rearranged a few things in time. But it happened fast, and I'm thinking, holy crap! If he could be killed, if he's
Oh,
that
yeah.
mortal, what about the rest of us?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I've faced that many a time.
Absolutely, you
And,
more than the rest of us. That's right. Facing one's own mortality.
The
is a-
Imperator always seemed indestructible.
Yeah, for some, I'm like a cockroach. I keep coming
Well, yeah,
back
that's
over and
true.
over and over again.
Yeah.
Um,
Until one day, for all of us, we don't.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's not my time yet.
And for which we're grateful.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that to be here with you all.
You know, surprisingly, I always thought we joke about this, but this is true. Of all my friends, I always expected you to be the first to go.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we just
Oh yeah. No. We figured it would be something stupid.
And he lived up to it. But
Oh,
it
right.
came
And if
back.
it wasn't him, it
absolutely.
would be me.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's some truth to that too. There's some
Yes,
truth to
yes.
that too. Although I must admit, Cajun, you have matured and mellowed amazingly from where we were 40 years ago,
Oh yeah.
and I think
Well,
you'd
I
agree.
think we probably all have, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, even though we are of the age where more of our contemporaries have died than
Oh yeah. They're dropping
you
like
know,
flies.
it wasn't that long ago. I mean, other than a guy that I knew in high school who committed suicide,
Mm-hmm.
none of my friends, people I call friends,
Yeah.
beyond,
Right.
oh yeah, I knew that guy, and he's not, because just because you know people that die, they could be
Yeah.
people that were 10, 15, 20 years older than you.
Exactly.
That's
But,
now they're
people
young.
that are my age,
Well,
that was
or
when Bruce
younger.
passed.
that's right. Yeah, Bruce was a very
Yeah,
good
Bruce was-
example.
Yeah.
And I don't think I told you guys, but I had a cousin.
And that was rough.
yeah.
I was on the altar for his funeral. That
Oh,
was
yeah, I was
rough.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know if I told you all about my cousin Catherine, who passed away recently. She's 52. She was 52.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Cancer.
Mhm.
And I may have told you all. I didn't preach her funeral because we went to St. Albert and I couldn't do that. But I was on the altar for her. But I preached her father, my uncle's funeral, not long after that. Cancer has eaten her up at 52 years of age. Lung cancer that spread into her legs and to her brain. She never
Oh, wow.
smoked. She was a nurse. And it's just all of a sudden it's like that lightning bolt strikes one person out of all this.
Oh yeah.
But folks of our generation shouldn't be dying.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, there's
And
always.
that one scared the absolute dog crap out of me. Still does. I've got her holy card sitting on my dresser.
Yeah.
I think of her every day.
So for you non-Catholics in the listening audience, and especially for you Amish, because we know how big we are.
We know
with
we're big on
Amish.
the
Yes.
Amish territory.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
As a matter of fact, I saw one of our bumper stickers.
Did you?
on the back of a buggy up near Bedford, Indiana?
Okay. For a second, I thought maybe it was going to be a rumper sticker,
No,
on the
no.
back of the horse.
No.
Okay.
It was actually on the buggy.
Yeah. Prove it didn't happen.
Prove it didn't.
Prove
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I'll bring photos for the webpage.
There you go.
I I think I may have lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you did.
Uh,
You were explaining Catholics.
oh yes, for the non-Catholics in the audience. Thank you.
Like
Um,
Martin.
Well, he's been to
He
enough.
knows more about Catholicism than any non-Catholic that I can ever think of.
Well, and a lot of Catholics.
Absolutely.
But a holy card that Francis mentioned.
Yeah.
When you go to a Catholic funeral, there is always a card with a picture of Mary or an angel, biblical scene with a scripture passage on the back.
Yeah, local funeral homes for Catholics, they know to do that. They
Yes.
provide that. It's a little memento.
It is.
Yeah.
They have the name of the deceased and the dates on it, and
Yeah.
we,
Sometimes a
we collect
picture.
them like trading cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes a picture, and there's a picture of my cousin on there. Yeah,
I mean, some Protestants funerals you'll have those. My aunt Juanita, when she passed about 12 years ago, they had them for hers. Surprisingly,
we stick them up, right there underneath the statues that we pray to.
right. Not really.
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, we do stick them there, but we
That's
don't
right.
pray to the
Well,
statue.
I know he's got his tongue in cheek on that one, and we just have to make sure we elaborate because too many people that hear us might not understand.
Well, yeah.
We are nationwide, international, by the way.
Yes, we are
We're all over,
international.
absolutely.
We have a
Shout out
nice
to our-
following in Germany.
In New Zealand, we
In
got
New
some
Zealand,
folks
yeah.
in there. Shout outs to all you international listeners.
Yes.
We love you all, folks.
I think the German people, they really liked the
The Habsburg episode.
Habsburg. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, by the way, officially passed the guest episode with Bjorn.
That is so surprising to me that the episode on the
particular-
Habsburgs turned out to be the
Number one episode that we've ever
Well,
downloaded.
And
yeah.
and
Fair
look how
enough,
fast
truth.
it got there.
Yeah, it's true.
Because
It's
it
a
was
re-
just in July.
That's right. It's a recent episode. Within
I almost feel like I should ask Robert to make sure he's not been surreptitiously downloading it in the background somewhere to get the numbers up because it was his episode.
It
was,
was
that's
my. And that's why I like to keep bringing it up. That it keeps.
well, it might say something to us. Maybe we should lean into our Germanic roots. And
Well,
kinda
I
go-
think it's
go
less
that
the
way.
Germanic roots, but because if you look at the most downloaded,
Yeah.
they are the history episodes.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, it's a fun country. If you noticed, they changed their national anthem after World War II. It was Deutschland, Deutschland.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Deutschland
Change-
über alles.
They changed.
And now it's 99 Blues.
No.
I love it. Absolutely. That's right.
Well done, Cajun.
Oh, well done. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Well, that takes us
Hey,
back, doesn't
what?
it?
They changed the words, but they didn't change the music.
Well, you can only go so far with such things. You realize that. Well, you know, had happened after the Soviet Union. The Russian national anthem is the same freaking tune, and it's only been slightly tweaked for the.
Yeah.
And what's our national anthem? A drinking song.
Outstanding.
Not the words, but the tune.
You
Is
know,
a
that-
drinking song. Yeah.
That is kind of a thing that we didn't anticipate with podcasting. It is driven almost by niche. You know, most are very focused on something.
Yes.
History history podcasts, true crime podcasts,
Yes, they're very
things
very
like.
niche driven.
And we've tried this kind of shotgun, see what sticks on the wall kind of thing.
well, it's whatever
just-
interests us.
We're just lobbing turds because.
Well, yeah, I mean, Rush Limbaugh was famous for that. He
Well,
says that
that's-
ultimately,
yes.
he would always say his success was always predicated because I make sure we stick on what I want to talk about, and that's a good thing because then you have a built-in passion, you have a knowledge
Exactly.
base,
Yes.
and it's interesting.
Yes.
You know, if we were to start talking about, and we've always been very, I don't want to say reluctant, but we always kind of question if one of us brings something that says, well, that's great for you, but we don't know squat about it, we kind of back off from that some.
Yeah.
Well,
'cause
to
we-
a degree, because I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff that you guys have brought, I'm sitting here and it's like, okay, I'll take your word for
all
it.
it takes is two of us to get it, and it's worth it. But if it's just one,
Yeah, and if it is just one, that's
Right,
a lot.
I mean,
we've accommodated each other
Yeah.
sometimes, but as a general rule, we try not to go that far. It's got to be something that at least 2 to 3 of us can zero in on and,
Wrap our
and
heads
do some
around.
good. And we're not beyond learning. I mean, hey,
No,
you know,
no.
you guys have brought stuff in it I don't know much about, but I'm willing to jump in and try to,
Oh yeah.
because when we get to the universal side, hey, we got that.
Well, and again, to go back to
Yes.
the whole friendship
Sweet,
thing,
yeah.
this is friendship in action.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And-
that's the whole reason for the
Where I was going to go a little while ago, I don't remember exactly what triggered the thought to go there, but it was about friendship.
we wrap
and
it up sometimes. Yeah.
It is, yeah, it is.
Rabbit,
hole.
on all
Rabbit
the
Hole
time.
Bourbon, Rabbit Hole Distillery. Are you listening?
Yeah, we need to really get a hold of
we,
those.
we
people.
need to, yeah. They're
But-
doing a major expansion. They bought a bunch of property
Yeah,
next
yeah.
to their
Well,
distillery.
and in fairness, we
Nulu.
haven't used their product lately.
No, well, we've only had them on the show the one time.
That's right. We will
when we did
we'll fix that.
at my place.
we'll fix that.
Drop us a line, Rabbit Hole. We'll pull you in.
Absolutely.
So, but where I was going to go with that though is that, friendship. It's one of those universal themes that comes up. It's not just because we like to bring these up. And I know this is one of the ones that, because I see it in a lot of places, is the connections that my brain makes. And I think Martin does similar
Yeah.
things with this. It's the relationships, right?
Absolutely.
Because I think that's what Lewis is talking about.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the relationships.
Absolutely. That is correct.
Because
It's right.
friendship, that's nice. But a friendship, the way we're talking about
And I think the way he
is,
was talking,
and where he's talking about, yes,
Yeah.
Right.
I think is that much deeper bond
that philios, yeah,
that we have.
brotherhood
Yeah.
in respect.
'Cause, yeah, I got lots of friends. I mean, heck, on Facebook, I got lots of friends,
Yeah.
but half of them I don't even remember.
Well, it goes back to that line in Tombstone, which I know Martin's getting ready to
Well,
spit
that's-
out.
yes,
When
yes, you're very much right.
yeah,
Go ahead, Martin, give it.
God, go ahead, you do it. You can do it.
Okay, well, it's the shootout at the creek
Yeah.
with Curly Bill and Creek Johnson. Why are you doing this?
Wyatt Earp. I mean, excuse me, to Doc Holliday.
Holiday,
Says,
why you?
Why are you into this?
What-
Because he's
Doc,
having a
aside from being dead, why are you doing this? And
Yeah.
he says,
Wyatt
Wyatt Earp is my friend.
Yeah,
And he goes, hell, I got lots of friends.
and as he
And-
says, I don't.
I don't. Doc
That's right.
says, I don't.
And is a brilliantly written way
Yeah.
to explain what true friendship.
Yes.
And historically speaking, those two are a great example.
And there was
of
no
true-
reason for them to be friends. They had almost zero in common.
Well, and really,
Earp and
they were
Holiday.
at a point in their lives, they would have been opposite sides.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
I mean,
Holiday
Doc
was
is
always
not-
a more gray than you might
Yeah.
imagine. He
I
was.
mean, but he wasn't exactly, your white hat kind
Oh,
of.
no, not at all. He would say himself, "I'm not a killer," and yet he had killed. And
There's a difference between being a killer and someone who is capable of killing.
that's correct. And Holiday's another long story about how you could get into that.
Yeah.
But one of the things I loved in the movie Wyatt Earp with the Kevin Costner version, which was much deeper into that because it was close to 3 hours, and it talks about the two of them got together and they recognized. Holiday comes out and says, "I don't have many friends. Do you value friendship?" And Earp says, "Well, yes, I do." And they, for whatever reason, and Kevin Costner and Dennis Quaid just freaking sell it.
Yeah.
Is that they come together and realize, I will be there for you. And that's kind of halfway through the movie. And the rest of it all explains why they stay friends all the way through. And you're right, it's not commonality. It's not a commonness of
Right,
interest.
right. There's very, very little that they would have had in common. Again, the Earps were all Union men from Iowa.
Yeah.
Holidays from Georgia.
That's right.
Um,
Griffin, Georgia.
just totally different life experiences. But at one of those periods where Wyatt's bouncing around and is a lawman somewhere, Holiday backed him
That's right.
somewhere. For who knows what reason.
Yeah.
But Holiday backed him and essentially saved his life.
That's right. And they never forgot that.
And Earp
And he,
never forgot it. And
That's right.
they said,
and for some reason,
This is my
Holiday,
buddy.
speaking later on, recognized this man keeps his word.
yes,
That's it.
yes. Once
Once he says he's going to be my friend, he is
yeah,
my friend.
And Holiday's experience again, most people stayed away from tubercular people.
That's correct. That's
He
right.
was-
He had no friends.
Right, no
essentially.
Well,
friends.
yes, they thought it was catching, and that's
yeah,
Yeah.
and Wyatt stood behind him from that point on as well.
They are a great example
And-
of friendship in
and
history.
and they were
well. It goes back to
they were loyal to each other for
Literally
the rest of
to
their
the end.
lives.
Yeah. All the way until and they showed it in Tombstone that Holiday. I mean, Wyatt Earp was one of the few people that visit Holiday in the
He
sanitarium.
was only 36.
That's right.
I think.
He was in Glenwood Springs, where he is buried in Colorado, for the sanitarium, and Earp was one of the few people that would even come see him because, like you said, people were scared to death of consumption.
No,
tuberculosis for lots of good reasons.
Yes.
And yet even with that, they stayed friends.
Well, it's so much of interpersonal relationships throughout history, not just today or any particular time in the past, but it's part of, unfortunately, human interaction, is that what's in it for me.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
and
And
they
the
were an example.
essence-
Yeah, that wasn't that. Yeah,
Yeah, the essence of true friendship, that capital F kind of
that's
friendship,
right. Which is what Lewis is talking about. In
which
this
is,
quote.
I think, what Lewis is
Yeah.
talking about, is exactly the opposite. Is not what's in it for me.
That's right.
You know,
I will
It's-
back.
it's
you.
not a
What can
tit
I
for
give
tat.
you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What can I give
You know, it's seeing how the other complements you.
Martin says, "What can I give you?
Yes.
not what I can get from you."
Mhm.
And by both doing that, everyone, the entire friendship is elevated, not just to the Philios level, but up to that agape level.
Right.
I will sacrifice myself.
That's why I say they're so closely related.
They are. They're very
Yeah.
close.
Because, there is no physical love involved
No, it's
anywhere
not.
in this
No,
room.
no.
But
I
the
might grab an ass now and then.
well, beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, because Martin's butt
Mine,
cheeks
yeah,
fit
so
just
it's
in the
right.
palm
Mine
of my
still
hand.
fits. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine still after 40 years still fits.
In the palm of my hand.
The
Yeah.
belly won't, but the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
whose will? I mean,
Whose
come
will?
on.
That's right. But
Um,
Holiday and Earp are a very good example of this, because literally, Holiday, who is facing death every day, is willing to sacrifice what little he has left of his life to go on this crusade with Wyatt to seek revenge for the death of his brother Morgan.
Mhm.
Now,
It's a reckoning.
it's a reckoning. That's right. And you can
And hell's coming
Hell's
with
coming
it.
with it. Absolutely, but it's kind of like, even though they're doing a terribly immoral thing here,
Yeah.
the friendship is so strong that I will follow you into fire, into
Well,
death.
it's-
To use the
I
Minbari
will.
words,
I will stand at the edge of the abyss with
with
you.
you. That's correct.
You know,
And
it's
if
an
we're- if-
immoral
and if
thing.
one of us falls, we both fall.
But you know what? It's kind of harkens back to our to the last episode. It's an immoral thing, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's complicated.
It is. It's complicated. It's an immoral thing that they do, which can only be done together. Neither one of them could have done this on their own.
That's correct. They needed each other
They
and
needed
others,
each other
but
and others,
especially
yes.
each other.
But especially each other. But it is also not. It is. There is revenge. Absolutely, there's revenge. But it's also recognizing that these men are wild animals, and they cannot be allowed to prey on others.
Thank you. I'm glad you did that, because we say it's an immoral act, and prima facie it is, but you're right. It is more complicated than that.
As
And
Virgil says, we're sitting here trying to make money off of these people being afraid of their own streets.
that's right.
Yes.
You have to have some law and order.
We have to have some law and
There
order.
is a
by it.
higher principle here, and
Mhm.
sometimes, and it's very Mac Bolan, it's very Frank Castle. We must take out that evil so good can finally flourish.
Well, I don't know if I'd put Frank Castle in that.
Well,
but
it
depends on who's writing him, but
Well-
mostly he's been written just as a, kill them all, let God sort them out kind of man.
Right. Well, Mac Bolan, the original Bolan is written by Pendleton, is much closer to this. It's a moral crusade for him. And after,
Right, and
after Pendleton left,
Cancer has to be excised,
that's right.
For the good of the body.
even even if you have to damage some other tissue.
That's right.
Cancer has to be excised.
Excised
Yeah.
in order for the body to survive. And Pendleton's version was very much that.
Yeah, and at the heart of this is the recognition of the impact on others.
Oh,
That's because that's the evil that cannot be allowed to continue.
yeah.
Now the catalyst is the death of Morgan. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But just because it's the catalyst doesn't mean it's the only reason.
Oh, yeah. It as in both movies, as they showed,
Yes.
it builds very much so to this point where there must be, as you said, the reckoning. These two cannot coexist. One must perish.
Yes.
Speaking of
So,
perish,
well, I wouldn't say perish, but it is time for bourbon break.
Thank you, Robert. I
Yes,
was just about to give you the signal. 'cause
we were spinning away.
there is a place I want to go. I'm going to put Cajun on the spot a little bit after we do bourbon break. But I have poured the fellas some Town Branch,
Mhm.
I have been this time. I've decided to not wait, and I've dug into it a little bit. I've got very little of it left. I've let it bloom a little bit here. This one is a lower proof, so it's
Yes.
it's 94. Am I right? 90.
90.
So
I can
yeah.
see that. Yeah.
yeah, it is. I don't want to say it's a guzzling bourbon, but it is certainly one you can drink faster.
Yeah.
And
Well, after it's bloomed.
after it's
'cause
bloomed, which is what I'm doing.
the that initial in the mouth is very ethanol heavy.
Oh, okay.
I blew
Before,
mine off this time.
but well, even doing that,
Yeah.
I thought it was very ethanol heavy before it had a chance to bloom with the melting water, melting ice turning it into water.
I'm sorry, Imperator. I drank mine before I could let you
Oh,
sniff this
yeah,
one.
mine's kind of
Yeah, mine's
watered
gone,
down
too.
now. Well, just pour another.
Yeah.
But but even so, with that heavy in the mouth ethanol, it goes away quickly, and then once it's bloomed, it's very much in the mouth
Yeah.
for me,
Yes.
and it's I wouldn't call this a terribly complex flavor profile, at least not to me.
No, I agree. I agree. It's a little more straightforward.
Yeah,
Town Branch in Lexington. It is a distillery. I've toured one of the few that I had a chance to go through. This usually runs in the 35 to 38 range.
yeah.
And I mean, I think I agree. It's not as complex as the Bakers. You can tell it's probably not aged as long.
I would agree with that.
It's much lighter in its color as well.
Well, it's half the price as Baker's too.
Yeah.
It's heavy on the vanilla.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I can
poured a
see that,
fresh
yeah.
glass and handed to the Imperator here. So it's not really bloomed. It's it's still got plenty of the
Yeah,
ice. That,
catching the first.
It has kind of a velvety.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good way to put
we've
it.
never
Yeah.
used that word
it's
before.
creamy.
Creamy.
Yes, creamy.
Really?
Well said. Well said,
Yeah.
sir. I think that's exactly right.
The nose works still. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I would
Let's
I would
not
agree
put that phrase together within your mouth, though.
Oh, it's mellow, very mellow. I mean, I just took a drink of the fresh glass.
Yeah, not
there's
as
no burn
I
whatsoever.
didn't feel like it was as
Well-
mellow as the Bakers. I
Now,
think
you had a little bit left over, or was it totally empty?
Totally empty. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's essentially this is
and a very small ice cube remaining.
yeah, well still because you gave me that big spherical one. It's still substantial. So it's
Right, but I mean, it's there was a lot of melted water in the last glass.
correct, and now it's pretty close. It's not neat, but it's pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And as it's blooming here in my hand, I mean, you could never do this with a prohibition style 120 proof. It would burn. There's no burn with this. It's got a teensy little sting.
Well, I think I think it's all in the mouth.
Yeah,
and
it's
I think
absolutely very all in the mouth.
and
There's no hug.
I get a little bit of hug, but it's very much an afterthought kind of a thing. It's very very minor compared to the Bakers. The Bakers had a really nice hug at the end.
It is, yeah. And
but I mean, I still get
liked
it.
Baker's. It was really good. This is one of it's kind of like they used to say. You want the rifle that you can drag through the mud and it fires every time. It always works. That's this. Whereas you can drag the Federation model through the mud and it's got 61 settings on it, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. That sort of thing. There's a complexity there that this doesn't have, but it doesn't need.
And it's an interesting perspective. So you're
it
you're
does
very
what it-
approving of this.
Oh
one.
yes,
You
very
really like
approving of that. I don't think any of us disapprove. Am I
Oh
right?
no.
No. I
Um,
just
It does what it does very well.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it
that's a
rides
great
its
phrase.
winners,
Yeah.
as old Dick Schofield used to say. Guy I used to work with
Oh yes.
years ago. Yeah, asshole, but that's okay. But
Oh,
he was
wow.
right. Yeah.
Named names and gave judgment. Wow.
I don't even know if the guy's still alive. For goodness sakes, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was right. Ride your winners. Do what you do well, and don't lose that. Because if you do, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
I do think I prefer the Bakers, but certainly
I would
this is-
agree.
This is a very good sipper,
Mm-hmm.
and
It would be interesting to do a cocktail with this. We've never done that. We don't do that much.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time deciding on what kind of bourbon I would use with certain cocktails.
Well, see, that's kind of where I'm at.
Because there are some
I don't know that I would. I don't
that-
know that I've done that.
I think like the Russell's Reserve was great with Verner's.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You mentioned that. Yeah, we've not done
I-
that.
And
yeah.
I really like Michter's with apple cider.
Which is what we got
Yes.
at the Bourbon Fest. Am I right?
No, you
Oh,
got
that's-
Jep the Creed.
Jeff the
You're
Creed.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that was the one that tasted like caramel apple.
It was
which I am-
amazing. It was
I
fantastic.
could drink all day and turn into an alcoholic.
But very much so, yeah, because the sweetness on that. We had. I wish we had.
I
Hopefully, we'll get a chance to go again.
Yeah, I just feel like this one here maybe would be overwhelmed in a cocktail.
Yes. Yes.
That
Well,
it-
you know, and
Depending on what you mix it with, but
Yeah.
it feels like it would just disappear.
the
Really?
bakers
You
would
said you-
too
You need more
if-
bite.
if it was one of the ones that I think if you did with lots of ice, because I think the bakers when it got diluted, there was not much left.
Yes, it depends on what you do. So
it
like,
was, and I was late drinking it. It had mellowed out a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the experience with Blanton's,
Yeah.
Mhm.
where it kind of disappeared into the.
Cajun had
Where
it
some
neat,
do not.
though. His
Yes.
version of his taste may be different on that. Cajun, you there?
He doesn't have this
Yeah, I'm here. I
But,
don't have that.
oh yeah, but,
What are you drinking this time, Cajun?
This time I am doing the Wild Turkey gift shop release only.
oh,
And it is
Which one?
they got Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. They bottle it only
Ah.
single barrel. It's single barrel, which Wild Turkey is usually a blend of several different barrels.
right,
right.
yeah.
This one is a single barrel, 10 years.
Ooh,
Nice.
And you
Wow.
can only get it in the gift shop. And when one barrel runs out, then they pick another barrel and bottle it just for the gift
So
shop.
it's different
Okay.
depending on when you buy it, necessarily.
Right.
Well-
and the age can vary some too.
Well, next time we're out your
Um,
way, I may try that because Wild
If he
Turkey
lets you.
is. I'm okay. I'll put that chip out there.
Well, when me and my uncle went by the gift shop, I got 2 bottles of it.
See,
one
he's
for a
got
person,
plenty.
but
He's got plenty.
he let me take his bottle, or what would have been his bottle. I mean, I paid for it, but it's much smoother than what you get out of a regular Wild Turkey. Because regular Wild Turkey's got a bit of a bite to it sometimes.
Oh, but we
It
love
can,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of our
Especially in
favorites. Yeah.
I've got a bottle. It's an
Right.
open bottle, but I've got a bottle of the rare breed sitting at home.
I don't have that one. I have the 101
Rare
and the
very
regular.
good too. I've got
I've
that.
heard good
I've
things
had
about
that.
it. Yes.
The one that I still haven't bought is Long Branch, which we had it out at Cajun's. I really
yeah,
like
we've
it.
had that. I've had a bottle of it here.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just don't. I just
I
haven't bought
almost
it.
picked up a bottle of that because it was at a decent price when I picked up the rare breed,
Mhm.
but I went for the new.
Yeah.
So that
I mean,
because
Wild
I've
Turkey
had
is one of the most respected brands, I think, that at here at Snakes.
Well, I had
Nose.
this bottle open for Christmas. I took it up to my uncle and aunt. They did Christmas Eve dinner at fair. Well, actually, I cooked the
Mhm.
dinner.
Well,
Yeah, I
The
mentioned
bottle
it.
Of
I
course
took
you
it
did,
That
yeah.
way and
Yeah.
come back with some.
Well, I look forward to helping you lower the level in that bottle
Yeah,
next time we're out your way.
I am to the point where I really want to. It's kind of like with the Old Forester, where with the different expressions I want to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
side by side. Because what I find fascinating about the Wild Turkey is that apparently the mash bill is the same. Doesn't matter which Wild Turkey you're getting.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, as we talk about,
Well, if you get they've got they've got 2 actually. One's heavier on the rye and one's not.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All
I
right.
was just going off of what was discussed on one of the podcasts about it being the same. But either way, considering the number of kinds of wild turkey,
Yeah.
Mhm.
to limit it to just to a couple of mash bills, even if it,
Mhm.
that's pretty amazing. That the aging, and of course the yeast strain,
That's
as
right,
we talked
yeah,
about, making such a difference. Because while we've certainly enjoyed the wild turkey, they've not all been the same.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. I go back and forth whether I prefer the Wild Turkey, the 94 standard 94 proof, or the 101. Sometimes I like it a little bit more of that bite.
I really like that 101.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's one of the featured bourbons in our liquor case at home,
Yeah.
meaning it's public. Of course, the Lush brother-in-laws haven't been over yet. I might have to hide it when they do come over. But we got some big bottles of Maker's Mark and Evan Williams and a few other things like that.
Oh.
we'll have-
Speaking of bottles that are getting low, because I had the ones that I emptied out. I want to put together an infinity bottle.
Yes, I was hoping you would bring that up.
And I wish I'd known about that before I started finishing off those, because I could have created an infinity bottle with the ones that I had.
Yeah.
with
So
that I had.
so listeners, if you don't know what an infinity bottle is you're becoming your own blender. You
Yes.
take
Oh, so it's not
take-
finding
take-
all the stones and putting them into the gauntlet and all that stuff like that.
exactly.
It's not that.
It is.
Well, it's close.
It's close. Okay. Yeah.
It's when you have. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have small amounts left, but the idea being you take amounts of different whiskeys and you are blending them yourself
Yeah.
to see what flavors you get.
Yes.
So
Right,
it's
yeah.
it's the equivalent of when you're a kid going down all the different little things with
Soft
the
drink fountains.
soft drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Suicide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
the
these
soft
call
drink
them.
fountains. But you know,
Well,
you
it's
can-
the equivalent of what the Boystown Bourbon Company is already doing right now. on
Right.
every
Yeah.
bottle
Yeah.
they
That's
sell.
they're
Well, yes, except it's all across all distilleries, not just their own stuff. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yes, but Bardstown Bourbon Company, they're the king of blending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, they're buying other bourbons from other companies. It's not just.
Oh, are
their
they?
stuff.
I thought it was just their own stuff.
Yeah, like the last lineup had 6 different bourbons in it. One out of Georgia, one out of Indiana, a couple out of Kentucky.
Wow.
Like that, from
Yeah.
different
And-
areas too of the country.
And I think that's a perfectly valid way of doing things. A lot of people will poo-poo that because it's not pure, but I have no problem with that because it's the end result.
Now, this being Kentucky, where we're sitting right now, bourbon is not just restricted to drinking
No,
or anything else. I mean, we put it in our food, the,
Absolutely.
barbecue sauce or whatever. We put it in our candies,
candy. Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
bourbon
it-
balls, which I'll have to bring in some of my wife's new candies with bourbon in them.
Is that the ones that
Mm,
you
you guys-
brought over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of
Those
them.
were fantastic. Yes.
like those,
Yes. Very
good.
much so. Yes.
Down to we grew up on, if you had a cough down here, you ended up with bourbon with honey in it,
Mm.
even
And-
no
and-
matter how young you were.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bourbon, honey, and lemon.
Uh-huh.
Or
Oh
something
well,
like
and when you teeth,
And teething, you dip
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah.
dip the pacifier in bourbon, let it soak.
well, and apparently we
Rub
grew
it
up in
on the
slightly
teeth.
different households. We just rubbed it on gums.
Rubbed it on the gums.
Yeah, we've
stick
done
your
some of that
finger in
because
and
it
rub on the
numbs it.
gums.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
helps that. Yeah,
Bourbon's an all-around thing.
it's
down
antiseptic too. It's
there. Yes,
alcohol.
it is. We used it on wounds.
Absolutely.
Kills germs.
Kills germs.
Yeah, there's a scene in my first book where that's what they do. They
I
pour
mean,
the bourbon
all
on
of this.
when he has to cut her open.
So investigate everything you can about bourbon. There's a wide area of influences and
Just don't swish and spit.
thoughts. Yeah, I know.
I
We're still debating that.
Okay.
Since since I don't drink, we're debating that
Right, of course.
swishing and spitting.
So verdict on Town Branch.
Oh, positive. Absolutely.
oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
very much
Yes.
Sounds good.
This is Francis, you were talking about the phrase I would probably use for this. This would fall into the category for me of a comfort bourbon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
One you can just take off the shelf and just enjoy for what it is
Absolutely,
for
yeah.
just a good time. It's not necessarily an experience,
No.
which is not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
It's
Yeah,
right.
It is what it is.
It's
Yeah.
it's right at its price point.
Yeah,
Because it's not just like a one noter.
right.
No. Again, I don't
What you-
feel
what
like
you-
it's as complex as Baker's. It's not been aged as long as the Baker's, but
And this is a
it's pretty darn good.
$30, about $40 bottle.
Yeah, 35 somewhere.
Oh,
in
okay.
there.
Yeah, that's a reasonable. Yeah.
It's amazing when we first started this, we would have considered the $30 to $40.
Absolutely, almost out of our range.
Yeah, anything above that was a big deal to spend above that.
Yeah.
And now it's
But it-
triple digits.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody has spent.
Cajun might
Cajun-
have.
Well, I mean, yes, Cajun has, yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking any of us, but yes.
I've spent it.
Right, no,
Yeah.
us. I'm pointing to Francis and
I mean,
Martin.
laying out the $80 for Henry McKenna 10-year-old and Eagle Rare 10. That's been my.
You have
Right.
grown,
That's
sir.
our max.
Oh,
You
yes.
have grown,
Uh-huh.
and we'll take some credit for that.
Well, and I
Absolutely.
spent the $85 on the Bookers,
Okay.
Yeah.
and of course I have.
You got a good deal in it because
I
mean,
did,
I mean,
yes.
I tell you what, that's $100 shit.
Yeah.
Easily more than $100.
Booker's is one of my. Well, it's kind of like that Holy Grail. It's one of the very best.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it for 110 to 100.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
My
110
Kroger
bucks.
still has like half dozen bottles.
No, Mount Washington's gone.
So
It's gone in Mount Washington, and the Buffalo Trace they had's gone. They had 3 bottles, 4 bottles of Buffalo Trace a couple weeks
I
ago,
want to
and
get
it's gone.
some of the, and I don't remember if it's a single barrel or a small batch, but there's like 120 proof Elijah Craig.
Yes.
I have not seen that.
I
No.
I have not seen it with my own eyes, but I've
Really?
seen articles about it.
Interesting. Cajun, have you ever run across that? I know you like Elijah Craig.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean,
You need to
I
try
like
the-
the Elijah
the
Craig.
joint
It's a-
down the
it's a-
street then.
it's
Try
a
the joint
limited-
down
Well,
the
I'm
street.
planning on
Limited release.
going down after we leave here.
And
Oh,
how much?
okay.
How much is the Elijah Craig 120?
Don't know.
I don't know.
I imagine it's going to be, I mean, the regular Elijah Craig is like a $25, $30 bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, it's very
30
expensive.
35. It's right in the same
Okay.
as Town Branch.
Yeah.
It's going to be 35 now. It used to be.
I thought it was a little bit
lot
cheaper than
less.
that.
It used to be like 22.
Well, yeah,
It's-
but I mean,
it's
maybe where I saw it was on sale.
climbing. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that where I saw it was no more than
Well, most of them
no more
are,
than 30. I mean.
except with a few exceptions.
Yeah. I mean, Buffalo Trace used to be an $18 bottle. Now it's $40.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
you know,
you still have your very old Barton, your Ancient Age, Kentucky Tavern, Old Granddad, those low end.
Fitzgerald.
Old
Old
Fitzgerald,
Fitz,
yeah.
Old Fitzgerald. The regular Old Fitzgerald is like a $12 bottle.
Yeah, 12,
Well, that-
12 and 15, that's that lower level.
yeah, that Heaven
And
Hill
there's nothing wrong
bottled
with
in Bond
those.
I got was like $12.
Absolutely, yeah. There's nothing wrong with those. We do not disparage that at all.
No.
I mean,
It's just not it's not complex. But it wasn't bad.
And it's gonna be a little bit harsher.
Well, I
generally
mean,
speaking,
we've
you
But
know.
it worked with the cocktails though.
Oh,
very
yeah,
much so.
absolutely.
But you
Well,
know,
and-
we've never tried on the show anyway, Ancient Age or Kentucky Tavern.
No,
That's
we
kind
have
of
not.
the lowest end. I did buy a bottle of J.W. Dant, which is at that
J-
price level.
Yes, it is.
And it's excellent. It's really good.
J.W. Dant and J.T.S. Brown,
Yeah, I've
are-
not done that one.
kind of at that $12 level. I was
And
thinking about
J.W.
getting a
Dant's
bottle of
it's
those.
excellent. I've got it in the cabinet at home.
I would love to try it.
Well, we'll make sure that we get it next time when you're at my place, and we'll
J.W.
do a little bit of that. Yeah, because that's a lower end.
Not
of
owned by the Dant family.
No, unfortunately, no. Heaven Hill owns it, but you know, Heaven Hill, we love Heaven Hill. You know, it's great stuff. You know,
Yes, they because of the consolidation. You know, there's almost no distillery you can think of that of the larger ones that doesn't have something that's good.
well, absolutely, yeah. And you know, we've not toured near as many as we would have liked to have to do that, and
Yeah.
we do need to do some road trips on this.
Yeah,
Road trip.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going back to Woodford with you guys.
I've not been to Woodford.
We have a built-in designated driver now.
Yeah, this is true.
That's
Yeah.
true.
With a
Absolutely.
With a minivan.
Absolutely. So
A
we
van.
need to make at some point in 2024.
We need
I
to-
make the prediction.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
need to
going to
make an
promise,
effort.
but I'm going to predict that we will take a road trip and we'll do one of our hoopa tubes around that little turn.
Yeah.
that little
Yes,
trip we take.
absolutely.
So I have a question for Cajun.
Yeah.
So, of all the long-term friendships in the group here, yours with Francis is, I'm assuming, the longest, right?
Yeah, I would think
yeah.
so.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Yeah, since
That-
Yeah,
Second grade.
well, a little over 50 years now.
that's exactly right. Yeah, that's when we were in grade school.
So that's what I wanted you guys to talk about then, Cajun and Francis, and talk about that friendship.
Well,
It's
I mean,
been through a lot of things.
I remember the day that he first came to St. Catherine where we went to school. I was in the third grade. He was in the second. And I remember his mom letting him off. And I don't know. I just thought, that's somebody I could be a friend with. I had no idea why. You know, it's just one of those things. But it's just, you know, I like that guy. I think he and I have something in common.
See, when
that
I
funny?
picture Cajun as a young lad in the second grade, I still see the beard.
I know. I still see Cajun.
No, he didn't have a beard. I can
Well,
assure
Well,
you
I'm
that.
sure he didn't, but that's how I picture him.
Well, I mean,
as a
and-
6-year-old with a beard.
yeah, and it was just I can't explain it. I remember because I was saying, "Hey, who is this?" Because he had come in the middle of the year, I think it was, and
Well, it was like February.
Yeah,
so,
something like
end of
that, yeah.
February. Because
and-
I went to school up at first grade in Louisville for
Right.
about 6 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks before we moved out here.
yeah, and it's because your mom would drop you off, which most of us rode the bus from where we were at. We would out in Nelson County, the county buses picked up kids for the Catholic schools. That's an arrangement they have there, even still to this day. Jefferson County would have a freaking heart attack over that, but there was an
Well,
arrangement.
but
then.
in Jefferson County, would you really want your kids to be riding the public school buses?
There's some truth to that. I mean, trust me, Cajun and I can tell you some stories about some of those bus rides in high school back
Jefferson
home.
County did at one time.
There was a time.
do
That's
that.
correct. Yes.
Because they did that for
Although,
X for a while.
I will give a shout out to the guy who's running basically the Jefferson County, that portion of the infrastructure. He at some point he will be the superintendent of the entire Jefferson County school system. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
He's a parishioner. I don't know where he goes
Yeah.
now because I haven't seen him in a while. But he has run several schools in the area, and he's been given problem schools, and he's elevated them.
Well, see, and that's leadership.
And he
So
is
it might show what he's made of.
yes.
That's
Well, he's also a
essentially-
big guy that's imposing, so
Well,
it's really easy for him to, I think,
That's
to
essentially how.
Like we just said, you ride your winners.
I mean,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
talking about
Work with your
Jefferson County
talents.
schools. Raising them up's not a very high bar.
well, in the cases where he has gone, it is a
It was
high bar because of
significant raise.
because it was significant. Yes.
Yeah, it was considered
I mean,
impossible.
yeah, because they were the problem
and
schools.
that's essentially how Dr. Polio, the current superintendent, got there.
Yeah.
In the past, prior to him, the last 2 or 3 superintendents have been outsiders.
Yeah.
Somebody they hired to come down and take over. Polio was a high school principal here locally.
And that's how
He was
Rob has
principal
started.
at Jeffersontown High School when my oldest was there.
Oh, okay.
When Ivar was there. And same thing. He was seen as kind of the fixer.
Yep.
He was assigned to Doss High School when it was a kind of a troubled school. And,
Yes. Doss has not had great.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so
out in
when
your
it
neck of the
was-
woods too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then
Um,
when it was brought back up, it's where Mrs. Martin went to school. Then that he made a case then to be
Yeah.
the
So
superintendent.
I fully expect that next year the busing issues that Jefferson County had at the beginning of the school year, which seem to be a perennial problem,
Right.
Oh yeah.
very, very difficult.
it is. But well, that's the weird thing. They can get them to school on time, but it takes 12 times as long to get them home, which
Yeah.
nobody gets.
Yeah. It's weird.
But anyways, I fully expect that their busing will be much better next
Oh,
year.
well, good.
I'm sure it'll still have some hiccups because
Well, we can
But,
understand
you know-
hiccups, but not the absolute
not
cluster F that we
and-
had.
not 10
Here-
o'clock
here
getting
locally,
kids home.
yeah.
And a little push for Jefferson County for those of you who would like a job on school buses. They're taking applications for drivers on second shift and for tail gunners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pilot to bombardier.
Oh,
Pilot to
Lord.
bombardier. That's right.
Well, anyway, back to the
Yes.
Back to you
area on
guys.
hand. Well, one reason why my mother dropped me off up that way is if I was to get on the bus out in front of the ranch or farm out here, I would have been getting on that bus at like 6 a.m.
That's right. Because they
Yes.
would have had to catch
Which
you
is
early.
rather ironic
It was
considering.
ridiculous to what being out here in the middle of nowhere, just how early some kids had to get on the bus.
Oh,
and
yeah,
with
some of them
school
were
only
that
being
way.
A mile and a half down the road,
Yep.
she was more than willing to drop us off.
We were
down there.
and we were just a mile from school, and we were one of the last ones picked up. That's
Right.
just fortunate
Right.
for us.
Yeah.
Whereas you were just another mile and a half further
I was
out.
one of the first.
You would have been one of the first. That's right. And and you just just
Depends on how the route
depends
is.
on how the route works. There were
Exactly.
there were 3 or 4 buses that used to take us in. There were 3 buses that would go from New Haven up to Bardstown for high school that we
heck,
rode on.
Francis, in good weather, you could have walked to and from school.
Well, I did. From my mother would never allow that first.
Right.
But by the time I got to 6th grade, I didn't give a rat's ass. I went ahead and started walking home anyway. She got over it.
Well, yes, and walking home is a much better proposition because it's daylight.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
that's
you
right.
know that's
Mm.
that is
Sidewalks did not go all the way home. They do now,
No.
but they
oh,
yeah, they didn't do that. I had to walk part of the way in the grass.
I did not realize they went all the way now.
Yeah, they did.
I did not catch that the
they
last
did.
few
Yeah, they've
times we've been down.
expanded.
Yeah, they went ahead and came all the way to the end. Probably when I was in high school, maybe college. I think is when it did all that.
I thought it was more recent than that. Okay.
No, yeah, they eventually, city's a small city. They had to
Yeah.
had the money to put that in there. I do remember when they did that, and that was kind of fun because I would get home. My sisters would ride the bus, and I would walk, and I would get home just before they did, because you have to get home in time to watch like Lost in Space and Batman,
Yes.
and all those
So
great
you
shows
got
we used to
control of the
watch.
TV.
Watch
and
some
not-
press-
I was the
Clown.
oldest. I had to control the TV no matter what. Come on, let's guys.
But if they'd have beat you home,
No. They,
would've had
we-
to-
there was only one freaking channel. Of course, we're all watching the same one. It's 41. You know what?
That is some truth to that.
Yeah. Back in the days of rabbit
Right.
ears, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
After
mean,
50 years of friendship now,
Yep.
we're getting
50.
off track here again.
just go back.
But
brings back.
yeah, speaking of Doc Holliday and Wide Up, the two of us were kind of like that. Of course, me being Doc Holliday.
Yeah. Well,
In fact, Francis' mother compared me to a riverboat gambler at one time.
Yes,
I
she
guess
did.
around
That
seventh
is
or eighth
correct.
grade.
very similar to
Maybe even
Apollo and
sixth
Starbuck
grade. I
too.
forget.
We use that analogy a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
you know,
yeah, as far as friendship goes, I've always went with quality over quantity because
Mhm.
I can be fairly off-putting when people first meet me. Because I don't give a rat's ass about them.
I was gonna say
get to
I
know 'em
can't
a little
imagine
bit.
why.
Well, I never had that issue.
Well, you
I
know
haven't had that issue.
the interesting thing I feel about Cajun is, yeah, it might take you a minute to get in there, but his generosity,
There is
of
no one more
soul.
loyal.
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
no question.
the acceptance of
Yes.
once you're in,
That's right.
he's very Doc.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
He-
It's very-
Cajun will stand with you when you look in the abyss.
that's correct.
Well, getting to know Cajun is a journey,
I'll help you bury the body.
but it's
That's
worth
very
it in
well
the
put.
end.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's
And
got
I'll
the
put
truck
him in the
to haul
ground
him.
for you, too.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
we do have a few backhoes in the
Yeah.
group.
You know, and again, my friendships with Marcus and Cajun are by extension, so to
That's
speak.
not a bad thing.
You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
met them through Robertus here and Francis,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and again, I so appreciate Cajun letting me into the circle, and again, the generosity of his spirit
Mhm.
has been something I've been so appreciative over these last
we
few.
we are
last
only
year
to the
so
age,
that
we're only
we-
to the age now that we can recognize the value of true friendship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it takes time
you
to
know,
to
it's-
mellow to that point
Yeah.
because look at all the years we've had together.
Yeah.
You know, for all of us.
Yeah.
Many people that we talk
Yeah.
to, and I'm assuming I'm not the only one that has these conversations. Recognize, wait a minute, you have friends that you've been friends with for 50 years,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's
for
unusual.
30 years, for 40 years,
And
really, and you're still
you know,
friends and you do stuff
that's-
together. I said,
that's
yeah,
not a horrible thing. I mean, people drift apart. You're friends with people that you work with.
yeah.
You're friends, and
Those are- yeah.
circumstances change. And it's not like those are shallow or anything, but it's just
No, those are
it's
good
just-
things, but
it's just you've drifted apart. Or you're in different places.
Oh
and,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
it's like
just
our-
hard to stay
Well,
connected.
and even when the emperor was across the country and I was in other areas of the country and stuff, I
Mhm.
mean, you know, when we talked to each other that we stayed more in contact with, we always asked how the others were doing and
That's
so
correct.
forth.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we kept
connections
up
were
that
always
way
alive.
whether we
Yeah.
even if we wasn't directly talking to everybody all the time, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and you know, certainly
Connection
technology
is
has made it a lot easier to
Oh, yeah.
do that.
to stay
Although,
connected. Yeah.
But, you know, even our very good friend and friend of the show in Michigan, you know, he is. I've known him longer than any of you because he dates to
yes.
high school.
right, yeah.
But he's in Michigan, and so
Mm-hmm.
we don't talk nearly as often
Yeah.
as we used to. We don't hang out like we used to, obviously.
yeah.
And
same way
And all our live situations
Gregor
have
Mendels
changed.
in Maryland. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, Gregor Mendel's another good question.
I mean, I know it bothers him that we don't talk, and it bothers me too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it bothers him more, unfortunately. And I don't know whether that's says something bad about me or
No,
or what.
I mean,
but
it's his circumstance.
probably,
His-
yeah.
Again, he's
well, you know, we
50
can look
plus
for
and
blame
unmarried
if we
and-
wanted to, but I don't think that's productive.
No.
You know,
No.
I really don't. I mean,
But I mean, you know,
It's-
but the point is though, sometimes your ability to develop this. I mean, well, not sometimes. Your ability to develop these kinds of friendships that we have
Mhm.
is due in large part to a couple of things. One is shared experiences, obviously.
yes.
yeah, that's,
Yeah,
once you reach a
um,
certain level of that, it's set in stone. It's
But
there.
there's also proximity.
You know, trips in a Renault to
Absolutely.
to mooch Thanksgiving dinner from a relative.
because look
That's a
at this one.
bonding experience.
It
I mean,
is.
Look
I
at
mean,
this
it's not
one.
an African
And
safari.
Some
but-
things,
Go
and
ahead.
some things that wasn't in common early on. I know I had a lot of habits that you fellows didn't share, except maybe for the emperor that y'all have come to appreciate some of the things, and even Morton there with his protection of his home there that y'all probably didn't have or could say you had early on.
True.
Things
true.
change over time.
Well, we've talked about this on other shows before when it was just the trio. You know, there's a lot of cross pollination of interests.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, enough commonality to make it fruitful,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know,
multiplicative.
there's, obviously, if we want to pick the Star Trek person in the group, we know who we're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
We all share that.
but yeah, but there are certain things that we all focus on more than the others.
Oh yeah.
But those sorts of things enhance and flavor the relationships.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah. Absolutely. I've not read the Honor Harrington books, but I know of them and I
Right.
respect them because you've read them. That's enough.
And
Our-
I've read some of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, check it, Cajun. I know.
yes, and Cajun brought me the signed copy of one of the books, which I greatly appreciate from his time in Vegas. It was excellent.
Well, and kind of look at the way
Excellent.
we're all writing in many ways.
Oh
and
yeah.
I wouldn't be doing it without you.
absolutely, I was going to say that Martin would not have touched this except for the example that we've set to do that, and that's kind of like that next level of thing we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the maturation of what we as creatives, because I think we all have that,
Yeah.
have kind of reached to
It's
that level.
somewhat a function of getting your kids out of the house and out from under your foot.
Yeah,
There's
there's
that
practical
too.
aspect, but Cage has been writing longer than the rest of us. Of course, he didn't have kids. That has something.
Well,
I mean,
no, the Emperor's been in there too. He's done
Yeah.
stuff over
Yeah.
the years.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So we all have that. We have that need. All of us. We respect the need to create,
Yeah.
Yes.
to be creative. That craft. We speak of it all the time on this show.
To look at a horizon beyond the immediate.
That is exactly it. We are.
Nice turn of phrase.
That's right. We are.
I think that
vision-
deserves a.
Yeah, we'll
Give
give
him
you
a
that.
boner.
Oops.
Wrong one.
Wrong button.
Well, have a drink as well.
Word boner.
But,
Because we've
yeah.
All
discovered
expressive.
we're not. None of us are content with where we're at.
That's one of the best
no.
parts of friendship is you don't necessarily lose focus on anything that's important,
Yeah.
but you get a chance, a window to view a broader horizon.
That's correct.
Yes.
With and the reason that you can do that is because you trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trust is important here.
Yes.
That
Well-
when one of your friends tells you how good this is, you trust that they know you well enough to say,
Yeah.
"I wouldn't even bother to tell you this if I didn't think it was good enough
Yeah.
for you." And I think that's what's kind of brought you in particular, Martin, because
Yes.
4 years ago you wouldn't have touched this. You would have said, "Why?"
Well, I wouldn't have believed myself capable.
Oh, we knew you were.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we knew you were.
But again, that's the point. That's the transfer of
That's right.
belief.
Mhm.
That's right.
It's like, well,
Transfer of dream. Is that what you said?
Transfer of belief.
belief.
I'll
Like,
give
Francis
you both.
and
yeah.
Robert think I can do it. Well, maybe I can give it a stab.
That's right.
Mhm.
And as I've said,
It's a long
before-
journey and it requires
Yeah,
a lot of work.
exactly.
But
Oh, yeah.
okay.
And
It's like the end of the quote where it says value.
yeah,
It's what we
yes.
give value to. My grandfather, my mother's dad, had a popular saying, and most people would take that saying wrong. He always said, your best friend's in your back pocket,
Mm-hmm.
which most men carry their wallets in their back pocket in that
Right.
day and age.
Yeah.
And most people think he was talking about his best friend was money. Uh-uh. Not at all.
Right.
He was saying, have your house in order.
Right.
Then you can put value on the things that you think deserves value.
Right. Yeah. You understand.
And he was very similar. He kept a very close knit of friends. I mean, a handful or so, and that was it. And it was quantity over quality, and it was the value that he assigned to it.
Oh yeah. He
And
was.
that's what he was saying.
He
about
was an
that.
amazing guy. I
Keep your
remember.
house in order.
I remember him so very well. I mean, he was one of those guys that just kind of spouted off wisdom, just because that's who he was. and ultimately, all grandfathers should be that way.
Mhm.
It's
yeah. Well, and it's not to run down the idea of having acquaintances and lots of people that you like to be around.
no, nothing at all.
I enjoy a lot of acquaintances, work
Yeah.
friends.
Oh yeah, we have work
but
friends.
I'm not
Mhm.
super tight with them, but I enjoy their company when I'm at work. But this is different.
It is, and I think that's kind of the
and
heart
that-
of
that
the red hot
transfer
center of what
belief,
this episode is
that-
meant to
that
be
whole-
about.
Yeah, that
And that's the funny thing with me. I tolerate most people that's not within my circle that I choose.
Well, I think we could kind
It's
of all
not
agree with
even
that.
enjoying spending time with most people. It's just that I tolerate most people. Because most people usually piss me off anyway.
Well, and it depends on the circles you run in because
Yeah.
I've been at those places where, oh God, please let me get home. But most of the time, at least in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
I've had lots of good friends that I remember when I left the job I left in 2010. One of the ladies that worked with me, she said, now she kind of just looked at me and she almost cried. She says, so now you're going to go find new work friends. And I said,
Well, yeah.
yeah, and I realized what she's saying, and it was
Mhm.
rough, and the whole place kind of imploded shortly after I left, and they all kind of scattered to the four winds, and I kind of mourned that because there were
That means you can't leave the diocese now.
well, I'm not. I will retire from here. That's but it was kind of. And you
Well,
guys
they'll be
remember
the
because
next
you all were
friendship.
with me
Oh yeah, yeah.
during all these times because that was a really difficult time
Yes.
in many ways. I mean, it was awful at times, but the people I worked with were top notch.
Mhm.
I really had some.
Oh, except
great
the guys at the top.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Other than that, it really was a good
Yeah.
time
Mhm.
in many ways. I was there for 9 years
Yeah.
and went through all sorts of bullshit and hell.
Yes.
But then again, most days were good. And I hope that all of us could
Yeah.
say that. But then you go move to another place where you make new work friends, and those were great. And 4 years later, I leave those, and now I'm in another place where I make other good friends. And
And I think that's a great illustration of the difference that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Work friends, by their very nature, are replaceable.
transitory, yeah,
This kind of friendship is not.
you're right. You're exactly
You know,
right. This has endured all of those things because we've all changed jobs. Even you only once, mind you,
Yes.
Martin, but you
Yes.
did change. And
Yeah.
we all we were all there during all that because that was an emotional experience for you because you didn't expect to ever
Well,
do
and that's
that.
the difference between y'all and me too. 70% of my work history has been solitary out here on the ranch.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes.
Well, I don't have those work acquaintances that y'all. I mean, for a while there, when I was in the medical field area, sideline of it, I mean, yeah, then I had more, but usually that you're in a cubicle form, your head stuck down, and you keep out of sight.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
most of
Robert's
my
had some
life
different
has been
places too. That
solitary.
he had some good folks and not so good folks.
Oh yeah. And that's inherent with everywhere you go because it's full of people. So
Yeah.
I mean, and you're not going to get along with everybody. Even the most outgoing extrovert, which is a person who, not that they, it's that they get energized by
Right.
those
The
relationships.
interactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even they are going to come across people that just get on their nerves.
Yeah. I had
Um,
I had some of that.
And it's as Cajun said, it's quality over quantity is what it comes down to. But it's also where we invest our time. Some people, not that they don't have deep relationships, those who like to have lots and lots of friends. I'm not saying that. But when we have a smaller core group, you get to invest more time.
Yeah.
You don't have to spread it around. And when when it goes for a while between seeing them, one, you miss them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But two, when you do get together, you just fall right back into where you left off.
Yeah.
Well, it was like when we were out at the Sherwood, and I ran into those guys.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid. I mean, went to first grade with one of them, and second grade with the other one, and it was amazing. It really is. It's like
And both of them gave us alcohol.
that's right. They did very much so. That's right. And it was
For free.
It was one of those moments that you realize, relationships
Yes.
and friendships in particular are what this is all about. I want to be able to go and to the grave and recognize
Yeah.
I was friends with many people.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Lewis is wrong and he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
absolutely.
It
Yeah.
is,
Mm-hmm.
it is essential for survival,
Well,
and
it's
it is
different
part
for
of what
everybody.
survival makes. Yeah, it makes what life worth living.
Yeah, it is survival all that
Well,
it's
Your
about.
relationships with others is what makes the survival.
I'll tell
worth
you.
it.
I'll tell you the example of why he's wrong. They did a study in orphanages in former Soviet Union countries,
Yeah.
and in those countries, they don't interact with the orphan babies at all.
Yeah.
There was a similar study done in the U.S.
Yes.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
And then when they do have people coming in, interacting with these children, holding them, comforting them, what have you, they thrive.
That's correct.
The ones that don't have somebody doing that die.
That's correct. You're exactly right. We've heard this story over and over and over
Yeah.
again.
And it's true.
It's just you must be loved.
and look, well, a perfect example is look at most suicides.
Yeah.
People who are suicidal feel like they're alone.
That's right.
There
Yes.
is no hope. Death is the only solution.
Yeah.
Nobody cares if I'm
There's
gone.
nobody
There's
cares.
a loneliness and an abandonment.
Yes.
And I think you're right on this, Imperator. Abandonment might be the greatest of all sins. I really have. In recent days, I've come to recognize that that's the one thing you must not do is you must not abandon those that you love or that you should love.
Can't agree with that totally. I'm a prime example.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
am
mean,
too.
me being abandoned when I did led to me having a better life than I ever would have had.
Yes. By all
So
measure
that's
of
not a
things.
100% example. I mean, doesn't quite work 100%.
Well, it's right.
Well,
But see,
but-
ultimately, your abandonment was done in such a way that it was immediately picked up thereafter.
Mhm.
So you didn't recognize the abandonment. Had you recognized the abandonment, and as you grew older,
If it had
you did-
persisted.
had it
Yeah.
persisted. As you grew older, that wound was always there that I was abandoned, but only when you came of age to understand exactly what had happened. And of course, the ending is a happy one as you were able to repair that with contacting your birth family and putting those
Mhm.
connections back together again.
Mhm.
But had your adoptive parents brought they mitigated that. They stopped that. You didn't recognize the abandonment. You were too small.
You were loved. You were
You
chosen.
were loved. That's correct. That's right. Whereas so many that and usually it's not at the age where you're talking about here. Abandonment, I think, where it really works, it really hurts, is when it's a little bit later in life. From the age of reason, shall we say, age of 7,
Okay.
up through life after that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that
From that point
potential for hurt,
forward,
yeah,
from
it
that
doesn't
point
stop. Prime example of this of abandonment without it actually looking like you're abandoned
Yeah.
are drug addicts and those that are caught up in human trafficking.
Absolutely, that's correct.
Because there are people all around them, but they're using them.
That's right, and
Yes.
that's not their fault. Usually, there is insidiousness that goes with it. We watched The Sound of Freedom recently,
Mhm.
and it lays that out.
Oh,
Did too.
perfectly. Yeah, it was a very good movie. It was a very good movie, and it explained a lot of that. Because the case book study that is kind of the linchpin of that was a kidnapping via deception of a young girl. And that's kind of the arc that carries through the whole thing. Nobody did anything wrong. I mean, her parents thought they were purchasing a good life for her, and it slipped into something that was really awful. And it was only because of the tenacity of the main character that freed her ultimately. But that's the exception to that rule in human trafficking.
Yeah.
Most stories do not end well.
Right.
So
And-
there's
and they usually go hand in hand. The
Yeah.
drug addict.
That's
and-
right.
Yeah.
We
It's a
had
lot,
we
yeah.
had you couldn't show a movie that didn't have a happy ending on that. You had to have that. I recognize that, but it was
I did a
also
little
pretty
research
clear.
on that,
Yeah.
and I think they actually got the girl back sooner than they got the boy back.
Oh, in the real case,
Well,
the real case
In
study.
the real case,
Yeah.
the guy went after a boy down there.
Yeah.
It wasn't the girl. That girl was part of the original story, but she was gotten back sooner, and he kept on after a boy. But I guess they used the girl to get more feelings.
Right.
From
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be more
They
sympathetic, yeah.
structured a little bit around that because you've got 2 hours that you've got to have, and because when they recovered the young boy, the movie's not even half over, and I'm thinking, no, wait a minute, there's more here than this.
Mhm.
And some of this, because it's based on reality, is that's why they kind of had these two different arcs in there.
Yeah.
From a storytelling standpoint, it was a little different, but it was emotional, very much so.
Yeah. I know we're
pushing
Martin's
time.
getting. I can see every once in a while he gets a little antsy when we
He's checking his watch here. Yeah, I
when we
understand.
Yeah.
start down a new.
I get a lot of notifications on the Apple Watch, so
Yeah, that is.
I want to
true.
make sure it's not Mrs. Martin telling me something. But
Yeah, that is one of the good things and bad things
Uh-huh.
about
Yeah.
the Apple Watch.
my wrist is always going. "Brr, brr."
Well, you just need to hold certain things then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, I've been
Um,
dealing with the message thing from my missus.
the yeah, as I said earlier, what it comes down to is relationship, and all relationships. This is a great quote because really, if you want to go deep, all relationships start at that level, friendship,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
you had talked, Francis, about that three levels:
Yeah.
eros, philios, and agape. But really, it's not three levels. It's friendship. That philios is at the bottom,
Yeah.
whereas eros and agape, it's almost like a double helix with
Okay,
yin yang,
yeah.
how it kind of twists because the philios can go either to either way,
It
and
can.
you can stop at the eros, but if you stay long enough at the eros, you're going to go ahead and segue on over
Well, I mean,
to the
if you
agape.
look at the quintessential marital relationship,
Yes.
all three of those
have to be present.
have to be present.
Yes,
That's
because
kind of like the highest form is where
because
all
it has
of
to be
those are present.
Trinitarian.
You got it exactly.
Well, I mean,
I mean, there's no accident to that.
Universal and Trinitarian.
That's right.
exactly. So to me, you can't have a relationship without some kind of friendship.
That's correct.
I
yeah.
mean, that's just impossible.
Anything that lasts.
Yeah.
Anything that.
Well,
that is-
even-
yeah.
Well, I disagree with that a little bit. I was going to say you have to have some kind of respect. I mean, you have relationships that's not friendships that you deal with every day with business, some
Well-
social interaction, so forth. But you have to have at least respect, even if you're not friends.
Yeah, well, there is still a for those kind of relationships. It's a form of, but it's a very low level form of friendship. Because
Respect being that. Yeah.
yeah, because you cannot have a friendship with somebody you don't respect. Absolutely.
Right. So, so the baseline of pure respect and nothing more is a low level form of philios.
At the lowest level, I would
Yeah,
say
I'd
so.
say,
Yeah,
that's
It is
Interesting.
a filios for your fellow human, a recognition of,
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
that person's humanity.
yeah, because philios is an amazingly broad form.
Well, yeah. When you only have three terms for this, it's each one is going to
Yeah,
be very broad.
we bemoan the fact that the English
But I
only
mean,
has
that
one.
feel-
Even three is not enough.
Yeah, feel is brotherhood. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
root
yeah.
of it.
That's the
feel
highest
is the
form of it.
PHIL.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's meant to be that high level, but it has to encompass all forms. So even that simple respect, and one can even have that for your rivals, mind you.
Yes.
And that there's a respect that you have for those who maybe on the other side of the political, ideological, business side, but there's a respect there.
There used to be anyway.
Well, I think in
there should be.
in proper functioning
Yes, there
relationships
should
there
be.
are. We see this. Matter of fact, many great stories are written on that. It's rare that you have that true hatred, the Khan versus Kirk type thing, which had its own reasons.
Right.
So let me ask Robert one last question.
Oh.
We will finish.
Yeah,
up.
we need to wrap this.
finish
bad
up.
boy.
So Francis, be ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
You know, you got to be ready for what's next. But so, Robert, that first week that we met.
Yes.
So it's funny.
Third week of August, 1984.
I don't remember who introduced us.
Oh,
I remember
God.
you. Is that not the odd thing?
Yeah.
Of somebody I was in a group with during orientation that freshman year at
Yeah.
Bellarmine said, "Hey, I've been talking to this guy. You need to read his stuff. He's doing a comic strip."
Yeah.
Robert was working on a comic strip, which he's an 18-year-old coming out of high school with his own comic strip. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take a look. And it was funny stuff right from the beginning.
I'll appreciate that.
And from there, we didn't have a lot of classes together until junior year, maybe.
Well, actually, I don't. Yeah, junior year or maybe it was senior year when we had it, but we didn't really connect back until junior year when I started working in the computer science labs.
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
when I came into the thing.
Yeah.
It was at my senior year.
Yeah.
Towards the
Right.
end. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, how did we get like back and become so tight after just that kind of briefest of
That's a great
introductions,
question.
and then just kind of like non around for 2 years?
That's a great question because it very easily could have gone that we never.
Never saw you again.
Yeah, and snakes and otters wouldn't even be a thing.
I wouldn't know any of you guys.
Right.
And your life would be poorer for it.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Be empty.
Well, I think the camaraderie of the computer labs probably
That was
helped.
part
That
of
was
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
And again, these guys, I didn't live in the dorms. You guys all lived in the dorms.
Well, that's
at
true.
One time or
I mean,
another.
the Imperator spent the night on my couch many times that senior
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
Did
So
I?
I mean,
Yes, you did.
I wasn't
Trust me on this. You did. Yes.
Uh,
in that group. So you guys had this bonding experience in the
yeah, because
dorms.
Cajun
that I
was there
didn't-
that last year too.
Yeah,
so
that
we
I
were
didn't
all-
didn't experience.
Well, this is something we've mentioned on the show when it was just the three of us too. We all have connections in various ways to one another,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but we didn't all come together at the same time.
No.
So, like Martin, I've known the longest. Imperator, I've known next longest, and then Francis, and through Francis, Cajun.
Mm-hmm.
But really, in my mind, anyways, the friendships are all rather seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't draw a line. Now, part of its interest, like in college, we had a lot of crossover interests. In computer stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's the beginning of
Star
the
Trek
computer
certainly
age.
helped.
Star Trek with
Yeah, Star Trek,
Francis
computer age.
and
Yeah, because we all went and saw.
politics.
Yeah,
Politics and
we all went and saw Star Trek 4 together in the theater, didn't we?
I don't know if I know
Many
that
of us did. Well, you did, and I
Yes,
did, and I think
and-
Cajun did.
I think Cajun did. Yeah, I don't know if
And I'm sorry, Imperator, you may have. I know you don't remember, but
but yeah, early on,
that
all
the way-
friendships kind of.
I won passes. I won passes for one of the movies. Was
that's
that
it,
four?
and that's the one. It was Star Trek 4. You're
was that
exactly right. That's
three?
the one.
Oh yeah.
Because I know I won
One of
passes.
the Next Generation films we all went together.
I think it was
That was-
First Contact.
That
We
was
all went together
with the misses.
because we had missuses by that time.
Yeah.
But I remember that Robert and I won tickets to the Voyager premiere at the IMAX.
Yes, and we
And
went
I
together.
just had two, and it's he and I that went to that, and we actually watched the Voyager premiere on the IMAX screen, which still was hella cool.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And I didn't even realize that I had a Picard jacket because there was a
That's
guy
right.
sitting behind us saying, I wonder where he got that Picard jacket. And I looked down, I was like, oh, wow, this is a Picard jacket. Because
It was
had the blue shoulders,
Yeah,
and
and
the
black.
rest was burgundy.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It was,
And I
very
didn't even
similar-
realize it.
Very similar to the
yeah.
Picard jacket in Darmok season 5. Thank you. Very
Yes, yes.
much. Darmok and
Gelada Tanagra.
That's right.
But
Shaka when the walls fell.
Yeah.
We could
yes,
go on.
Shaka when the walls fell.
That's right.
yes.
There's a whole Facebook group
Oh yeah.
on that episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great one. I'm totally yeah. Paul Winfield, fantastic actor. Yeah.
But like I said, the relationships, the friendships are seamless in my mind in the sense that not that you guys are interchangeable, but it's seamless as in it's a whole, right?
Yeah.
Holistically, yeah.
It's very much a whole. I can see no problem hanging out with any one of you,
That's right. Yeah, and we have on many
and we
occasions.
have, yeah. I mean, obviously, because of either circumstances or various other things, some of us spent more time with each other
Yeah.
than
Exactly.
the other.
What's
Yeah.
funny about all that is we've reached a point, and I'm not sure when that happened, but somewhere along the way we reached the point where we don't really need to know anything about a certain subject. All we need to know is one of you values it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And by extension, we value it, even though we know nothing about it. That's
Yeah.
all we need to
Yeah.
know. If you like that, then we like that because we're friends.
Yes.
That's just
No,
the way it is.
No, it does help that there's a lot of similarity in what we value.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and
and
what we hold as true.
that could probably use some analysis. Actually, that's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
I mean,
to look
I mean
at
that's. I just think that's going to be core to any
and
long-term
friendship is
relationship.
one of those
Yeah,
values. To kind of circle
absolutely.
back to, I know because I know Martin over here is kind of chomping at the bit to end the episode.
No, it's okay.
But that's
But I
kinda
don't
what we're
want. I
talking
just don't want to go too long.
Right, but I mean that was a great question though about how did we even reconnect?
There was a shared sense of humor,
Yes,
a shared sense of stress and accomplishment.
Monty
Through
Python.
some of those.
Monty Python didn't hurt actually.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that helped. Yes,
Yeah.
again,
Oh yeah.
similar. Pardon?
The Vogue Theater.
Oh yes, the Vogue.
Vogue
Theater,
Theater, yes, right.
With the sense of humor.
Well, mhm.
That's
But,
right.
it's so.
But it survived graduation too. That was.
But it survived
you
graduation.
know, I went on a job, and you're still there, and then you went out to a job, and
Right. We all come
And-
from different backgrounds, different faith experiences. Although some of us ended up, you're
In
the
the
only
same place.
non-Catholic, yeah. But we come from different family backgrounds
Oh yeah.
and situations, and although there's some similarities even there.
There's some, yeah, but ultimately
Um,
that didn't
but-
Yeah.
didn't stand in anybody's way.
No, but because of that, even where there are not
We have the
similarities,
same misery.
yeah, I mean,
We've
in
done
many
that.
ways,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And we not heard the chimes at midnight, as Shakespeare would say. We've been
it's-
together through a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
And friendship doesn't necessarily require all of those things,
I think.
but it sure as hell helps.
I think
Yeah.
more than shared experiences, it's shared outlook.
There's
truth to
I think
that.
so, yeah, I think there's a lot of truth
There's
to
truth
that.
to
Despite how different the five of us are, there's still kind of a similarity to, again, like you said, what we value and what we see as valuable in the world.
Hmm.
That's true because this podcast could have never succeeded if we didn't have that.
Yeah.
If we were that
And
divergent.
succeeded is a relative term.
Well, I understand. With
Well,
200 some odd episodes,
200
we're still at it
and sticking to it.
and sticking to it. That's right.
Sticking to it.
And growing.
That's correct. There's something to be said for the fact that none of us are so far away from the others that it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
got this where
Right. Well, and
expressions may be different, but core is very similar. Red Hot Center.
three of you have been out of state for periods of time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
surprisingly, even though I don't come from this state, although genetically, roots wise, I do.
Yeah, you were back in Michigan for a while there too.
Yes. So I guess it was such a short time, I had forgotten about
yeah,
that.
I was gonna say, well,
So-
my time in Georgia was so short, I almost forgotten. Martin's the
so-
only one that's never left.
True. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the sojourn in Indiana, but essentially that's the same.
Well, Metro.
Well,
It
yeah.
was even closer than the
we
Imperial.
won't
Tour.
hold that against you.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I was up there for 9 months and came back. You were out in Seattle for a few years.
Oh no, more than a few.
Well, I mean,
Been
few
quite
is,
yeah,
a
quite
few
bit.
is when
Yeah.
you get to be our age, few is relative.
More than
It's
three.
relative.
Yeah,
No, we between me and the boys, we had a place out in Seattle for 25 years.
right. But you weren't out there.
No, I went out
Yeah,
and back,
yeah,
out
yeah.
and back, out and back. So
Although you
Victoria-
did disappear to Seattle kind of abruptly.
Yeah, I did after I got married.
Well after you were married. I mean,
Yeah,
it wasn't like
it was-
immediately.
No, I'll tell you when it happened. Victoria went out on literally the first flight out of Louisville after everything was shut down for 9/11.
Okay.
She was on the first plane going out, and she was the only person on that plane from here to, I believe, Chicago, and from
Uh-huh.
Chicago to Seattle.
Wow. So you're talking about late 2001 then?
Yes.
Interesting, because
And-
honestly, I was thinking Seattle was before that.
We did go there for a while back in 94, 95 for about a year.
Right. That's
Came
what I'm
back.
talking. When you, just up and disappeared, didn't say goodbye. No, I'm not bitter still.
Okay. Hey, I said goodbye apparently when I was going into surgery this last time.
Yes, you did.
You did.
Yes,
That's true.
yes.
That's right. Well, you've grown. That's
Yes.
of course. As have we all.
Yes. Well, but I mean,
Hey, and that time they only gave me 10 minutes.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's very nice. That's
Yeah.
right. You
10
so-
years to get my affairs in order. I call this asshole.
that's right.
Yeah. Well, better late than never, right?
That's right.
Uh,
All right. Well, very well done, guys. I think we really mined the nugget of
We hardly scratched the surface.
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
You
but
picked
it's
a
C.S.
deep
Lewis.
one to go with.
Yes.
So yeah,
C.S.
Martin's good at that.
Lewis
He is,
excellent.
Oh yes.
And well, again, when I do a friendship one, I'm giving you guys a signal of how much
Yes.
having you here in my home and having these episodes and having this time
Mhm.
together means to me.
amen, brother.
Yes.
We'll have a big teary-eyed group hug after we shut this down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll see whose hands can cup Martin's buttocks
Buttocks.
Yes.
comfortably.
I'll
Yes.
send you mental happy wishes while y'all doing
Yeah.
that.
That's right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So when the hands drop from the shoulders, just down very lovingly a little bit.
He misses
And
a
if you
good
feel
hug.
something and nobody's there, you know it was me.
Have
He's
you,
got that right.
have you explained this need to your wife with directions like that?
We're going down another rabbit hole. Let's
Yeah,
end this thing.
All right, Francis, buddy.
What's
tell us
next?
What's
What's
next?
next? We're going to go back to directors. We're kind of doing this mini series here for a while. We've done some great ones up to this point. We're going to go to Francis Ford Coppola, which I know that I'm excited about, and I'm sure Martin is too.
Yes.
We've talked a little bit about him. We've touched on him here and there. We're going to go a little bit deeper with his I don't want to say large body of work, but his quality body of work. And we'll talk about the Godfather trilogy, Apocalypse Now, and all the other movies he's done in greater depth. Can't wait for it. Be here.
We hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes drop every second and fourth Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern, just in time for your morning commute. And every fifth Friday, we drop a special Hoopajube episode. Spread the word we are on all the major platforms, and leave us a review. That helps others find us. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com. Join us next time. Same snake time, same otter channel.